That's 80% of everything. Those animals are gone and will never be there again.
Okay, I think I read it a few weeks ago, but it bothered me quite a lot. So basically, I'm going to read this article now. So basically the gist of it was that we're going to start losing, we are currently losing an awful lot of insects. And just because of the fact that we're losing these insects, okay, I don't know how to make it sound more serious or as serious as it actually is. So how about I just dive directly into this and we go from there. Alright. So plummeting insect numbers threaten collapse of nature. So literally nature's going to collapse upon itself. Yeah. So the rate of insect extinction is 8 times faster than that of mammals, birds and reptiles. Photograph courtesy of entomologischer. You know what? I can't fucking pronounce shit apparently, but that's fine. Verein Krefeld. Exclusive. Okay. Insects could vanish within a century at the current rate of decline, says Global Review. Why are insects in decline and can we do anything about it? The world's insects are hurtling. I feel like that's not how you spell hurtling, but that's fine. The world's insects are hurtling down the path to extinction, threatening a catastrophic global collapse of nature's ecosystems. According to the first global scientific review, more than 40% of insect species are declining and the third are endangered, the analysis found. The rate of extinction is 8 times faster than that of mammals, birds and reptiles. The total mass of insects is falling by a precipitous 2.5% precipitous. I said that right, I think. Or correctly, I think. 2.5% a year. According to the best data available, suggesting that they could vanish within a century. And I mean, that's terrifying. Just give me a second. The planet is at the start of a 6th mass extinction in its history, with huge losses already reported in larger animals that are easier to study. But insects are by far the most varied and abundant animals, outweighing humanity by 17 times. They are essential for the proper function of all ecosystems. The researchers say as food for the other creatures, pollinators and recyclers of nutrients. Insect population collapses have recently been reported in Germany and Puerto Rico, but the review strongly indicates the crisis is global. Researchers set out their conclusions in unusually forceful terms of peer-reviewed scientific paper. The insect trends confirm that the 6th major extinction event is profoundly impacting life forms on our planet. Unless we change our ways of producing food, insects as a whole will go down the path of extinction in a few decades. They write, the repercussions this will have for our planet's ecosystem are catastrophic to say the least. Okay, so basically what you'll get from this is, without insects, everything's going to collapse, okay? Insects are a source of food and nutrients, obviously, to many animals, okay? They pollinate flowers for us, and yes, we can do it without insects, but the trees don't end up nearly as large. It's much more effort. I don't know, bees, most animals in general, are somewhat really the only hope we have left. We really need to worry about preserving our insects, and we need to figure out what we can do as individuals, as companies, as a government as well. We really need to make a change here. Okay, so there's a statistic here that shows this. Okay, so the statistics of global insect species that have declined over the past decade. All insects have declined by 41%, or I imagine that's the average. Okay, so caddisflies have decreased by 68%, butterflies by 53%, beetles by 49%, bees by 46%, mayflies by 37%, dragonflies by 37%, stoneflies by 35%, flies by 25%. Bitte, kom mee, bitte. Ek's besig. Kom. Ek's besig. Mayflies by 37%, dragonflies by 37%, stoneflies by 35%, flies by 25%. Okay, compared with 22% of vertebrate species. All vertebrates are 22% average, birds 26%, amphibians 23%, land mammals 15.4%, reptiles 19%, okay? Now, I think the biggest thing that we as people would have noticed is butterflies. The reason I say this is when I was maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, there were butterflies everywhere. We could go into the garden and they'd just be the most abundant thing you'd see, I mean, in your life, really, and it was amazing. As a child, I was always shocked. I was always in awe of butterflies, in awe, you know, just let's get it. And really, the fact that they're gone should cement the knowledge and the idea that if this carries on, we're headed down a path that we can't stop. And we should really do something now while we still can. The collapse of the insect population is going to end up being the end of us all, or at least one of the many things that are quite clearly heading towards the end of us all. Bees have also been seriously affected, with only half of the bumblebee species found in Oklahoma in the US in 1949 being present in 2013. The number of honeybee colonies in the US was 6 million in 1947, but 3.5 million have been lost since. There are more than 350,000 species of beetle, and many are thought to have declined, especially dung beetles. But there are also big gaps in knowledge, with very little known about many flies, ants, aphids, shield bugs and crickets. Experts say there is no reason to think they are faring any better than the studied species. A small number of adaptable species are increasing in number, but not nearly enough to outweigh the big losses. There are always some species that take advantage of a vacuum left by the extinction of other species, said Sanchez Bayo. In the US, the common eastern bumblebee is increasing due to its tolerance of pesticides. Most of the studies analyzed were done in Western Europe and the United States, with a few ranging from Australia to China, Brazil and South Africa, but very few exist elsewhere. The main cause of the decline is agricultural intensification, Sanchez Bayo said. That means the elimination of all trees and shrubs that normally surround the fields, so they are plain, bare fields that are treated with synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. He said the demise of insects appears to have started at the dawn of the 20th century, accelerated during the 1950s and the 1960s, and reached an alarming proportions over the last 2 decades. He thinks new classes of insecticides introduced in the last 20 years include neonicotinoids and fipronil have been particularly damaging as they are used routinely and persisting in the environment. They sterilize the soil, killing all grubs. I wonder if that's correct, but okay, probably. This has effects even in nature reserves nearby. The 75% insect losses recorded in Germany were in protected areas. Okay? The world must change the way it produces food. Sanchez Bayo said, noting that organic farms had more insects, and that occasional pesticides used in the past did not cause the level of decline seen in the recent decades. Industrial scale, intensive agriculture is the one that is killing the ecosystems, he said. In the tropics, where industrial agriculture is often not yet present, the rising temperatures due to climate change are thought to be a significant factor in the decline. The species there have adapted to very stable conditions and have little ability to change, as seen in Puerto Rico. Sanchez Bayo said the unusually strong language used in the review was not alarmist. We wanted to really wake people up. The reviewers and editor agreed. He said, when you consider 80% of biomass of insects has disappeared in 25 to 30 years, it's a big concern. That is insane. That means 80% of all the bugs that have once existed, okay, has disappeared in 25 to 30 years. That's 80% of everything. Those animals are gone and will never be there again. How insane is that? How do people not realize that we're damaging our ecosystem? Okay. Other scientists agree it is becoming clear that insect losses are now a serious global problem. The evidence of all points in the same direction, said Professor David Goulson at the University of Sussex in the UK. It should be of huge concern to all of us, for insects are at the heart of every food web. They pollinate the large majority of plant species, keep the soil healthy, recycle nutrients, control pests, and much more. Love them or loathe them, We humans can't survive without insects. Okay, here's just a little picture of volunteers looking for the wormwood moonshiner beetle. Professor Paul Earl? Okay, look, I'm gonna butcher this name, and I'm sorry about that. At Stanford University in the US, has been seen insects vanish firsthand. Through his work on checkers spot butterflies on Stanford Jasper Red Reserve, he first studied them in the 1960s, but they had all gone by 2000, largely due to climate change. I feel like we can stop there. Everyone gets the gist of it. The big thing, so here's what really needs to be done. We really need to start realizing that our Earth isn't going to survive all the nonsense, all the pesticides, pollution that we keep throwing at it. We're killing it off. We're going to be our own destruction. And I can't understand why we haven't done enough to stop this yet. Our generation, Gen Z, millennials, baby boomers, we're all the ones that are going to suffer from this. Even more so, our children, grandchildren, they're going to feel the brunt of this. They're going to feel the true consequences. We're heading down a path of no return. There's been articles that I've read in the past that have stated the exact same thing. We really need to make a change. And the only way we can do that is we need to start trying to conserve nature. We need to plant more pollinators in our own gardens. More, what's the word that I'm looking for? Oh my gosh. No, natural pollinators. More natural pollinators, okay? Indigenous pollinators. Pollinators that are from specific countries. We need to plant them in our gardens. We need to convince our government to plant mass sections of these plants, okay? Buy massive pieces of land and plant them. We need to stop using pesticides. We need to do whatever we can, or we're going to run into a problem that's going to be less of an unstoppable wall and more of an immovable object. Okay, it will kill us all. We're all going to run into this. And I don't want to be negative. I personally think we can do something, okay? I believe in the potential of the human race. We as a people can stop what's happening right now. We can do this, okay? All of us. Why do I keep saying that word so much? All of us can change this. It's up to us to make a serious difference. And I believe we can do this. I believe in our potential as a species. It's time to change.
Yeah.